Hi, this is Karen Rowland, founder of Hush Providence. Welcome to my new weekly Wellbeing podcast, Real People, Real Conversations, Real Life. We'll be talking about all things relating to the human experience. What makes up a life? What creates joy and happiness? What makes humans the same or different? How do we care for ourselves and each other? We'll even try to answer the 5 W's of well-being: who, what, when, where, and why, and how this all fits together. A little ambitious? Maybe, but join us as we connect with local topic experts, peers, mentors, and healers. Welcome to Hush Providence, a well-being podcast. I'm excited to introduce Lori McCarthy to the episode today. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. So wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me and us.
Welcome to Hush Providence. And I know that you're the executive director and partner at Herren Wellness in Seekonk, Mass. Yes. You're a licensed alcohol and drug counselor, certified Arise Family Interventionist, co-chair at Hingham Care's Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition, and you're celebrating 36 years of sobriety. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, it's a pleasure to be here.
So let's begin with having you share your personal journey to self-discovery and how you got to Herren Wellness.
Sure. So just personally, I grew up in Massachusetts, and when I was 15, my father found Alcoholics Anonymous. And how the program works is he called a friend that he was struggling, didn't know anything really about alcoholism. Even though he grew up in an alcoholic home. This was in 1976. And he brought recovery into our home. He passed away a few years ago with 40 years of sobriety. But he just had so much compassion for people that are struggling and loved. Back then, the only really recovery support was Alcoholics Anonymous. Since then, obviously, there's other support programs out there. But so when I was young and struggling and found myself, alcohol was definitely had changed for me in a way. My drinking was different. It was way more often. It was became unmanageable. There was a solution. And so I, talked to my dad and, lots of stories in between that, of course, but, found the joy of recovery as well. And, as other members of my family did also. So my husband and I, we moved back to Hingham, Massachusetts, which is where I'm from. And so is my husband. And we were raising our children. And, I was a new mom. And I really shared very openly that I was in recovery. And that sort of opened up people, wanting to know more about it, just in friend groups and school groups. And I got really interested in working with families. I realized that if somebody called and wanted to talk about like a struggle, I really just loved that, being there and trying to, explore options and hope. And then I decided to pursue it as work. And I went back to school and, did a practicum and got licensed. I worked in treatment for about 6 or 7 years, where I met Chris Herren, who the program I was in, he was very close with the CEO there. And so I met him often at events, he and his wife, Heather. And when our CEO retired, I ended up leaving this place a few months later. And Chris and Heather really wanted to open up a program. And that's how I ended up at Herren Wellness.
Welcome to town. It is a beautiful, beautiful space. I grew up here, so I'm very familiar with it. And we're happy to have you as neighbors. So I know that it opened in 2018. and Chris and his wife, Heather.
Mhm.
You also have a Lincoln Street property as well.
Yes, yes.
Chris just celebrated 15 years of sobriety. And for those that don't know, he was a former NBA player with the Boston Celtics.
Mhm.
So maybe you could talk a little bit about the mission of Herren Wellness.
Absolutely. But the mission is really to provide holistic services for men and women and provide support for families at any with any kind of struggle. So it isn't just addiction. In Chris's, years of speaking across the country, and it really is more than just substances. It's anxiety and depression and mental health and struggle, that he really wanted to have a place where you didn't have to meet a criteria to be accepted. He does so much work in prevention with his speaking. And then people that are struggling, and we also believe, why do you have to wait to hit bottom to get better? Where can you go in a residential program where you don't have to be at bottom to get in? That we can maybe help that that fork in the road, or that path. So that is the mission, to help people restore your life, understand your relationship. If substances are involved, understand your relationship to substances and the why, and to provide support and empowerment to those that struggle at any age.
I love the whole approach, and you're combining sort of Western medicine with lifestyle medicine and functional medicine, and just getting to the why, like you said, is just so important. And some of the modalities that you're using too, maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
As far as the holistic, some of the holistic services: acupuncture, massage therapy, yoga, mindfulness. We do a lot of breath work. We have found that these services that we encourage all of our guests to participate in, people get better quicker when they're participating in these. They feel better physically quicker. Emotionally, they're able to take in more. So that's a huge component on the holistic side. And then on the clinical side, we have a very structured day. We start with a check-in group, with a reading. We then have a process group. Every week we will pick a topic, a theme for the week. It can be we developed a curriculum that we believe really serves our guests and their families. And so we do a group on that. Then we do afternoon groups. We introduce all methods or modalities of recovery, smart recovery, refuge recovery, AA, NA. We also do parent group. We do groups with men and women. And then in the evenings, we may go out to a recovery support meeting, or we'll stay in and do another topic group. And then at the end of the day, we have what's called wrap up. And our wrap up group is, it's like the win of the day. What is your win today? How we want to end the day on a positive note. And the win can be anything. It can be a positive conversation with a family member. It can be an aha moment in a group. It can be, a friendship that is, a blooming with somebody here. It really is just anything that's positive. We want to end the night on that.
I know you've only been there since 2018, but do you have any stats that you can share?
So we served over 600 guests and their families. 4-week program, residential program. Most people stay between 50 and 80 days, I would say, would be the average. And so we have a fairly high recovery rate of 28% to 30%. We created and built a step down. So that's a less intensive program. People are living in that house, and they can be working or going to school, recovery based, just improving, but not ready to maybe go home or transition to an apartment. And that is about a 75 to 80%, success rate in life improvement, relationships improved, school or work is improved. All of these benchmarks for how was life before and how is it now, and are things better? And that includes the relapse rate. We like to, and we don't use these in our statistics, but as an organization, we really focus on, if there is a relapse, how quickly can we get the person restabilized? And we look at that. And so many of our guests and families participate in our alumni program, that if something goes wrong with somebody or there is a relapse, we know about it fairly quickly, and we're able to reach out, and we're able to support the family. We're able to support the guest. We're able to determine what is the best environment for them. The goal is that if there is a relapse, that it is as short as possible, so there are no new, negative consequences. And that has been, very not only rewarding for us, but also just so helpful for the guests and the families that love them, because it's it's scary. People that come in, their families are often just so nervous and afraid of where their loved one is at, out of ideas for how to help, often lost at a loss for how to help. And with community support, no one feels like they're alone anymore.
And now a shout out to our sponsor, the Good Seed Market, 138 Central Avenue, Seekonk, Massachusetts. Started in 1989 by three friends with a goal of creating a neighborhood market offering simple, natural, organic products for a healthy lifestyle. Now a member of the independent Natural Foods Retailer Association, our friends at the Good Seed are offering our listeners a 10% discount on their first purchase just by mentioning Hush Providence. The Good Seed Market, a place where ideas can grow. Yeah, so I think that's definitely one of the things that struck me when I was going through your website was the alumni group and how impressive all of that was, and some of the testimonials, some of the videos that you have up there. Recovery is contagious, safe, structured, loving environment. It felt like home, the community, and love. It just kind of was through all of the messaging, which was really, really amazing. So congratulations on all of that, because it's like you said, the people that relapse or whatever, they know that they can count on all of these people around them to lift them up, and it's one day at a time. We all know that. So congratulations on building that community.
Thank you.
I was also struck by the impact to the next generation. Mm-hmm. Could you share a little bit about the Hingham School Program?
Oh, yes. Great. So when we opened Herren Wellness, being involved in Hingham Cares, which is the prevention coalition in Hingham, we were always interested in working with the schools. I became a resource in the town, just as a way to give back, as this was before Hingham Cares became an official prevention coalition. We really started out as grassroots, and how can we help, and in all different sectors of the community came together in this effort. The superintendent of schools was part of it. The chief of police was part of it. It was, how can we provide support, and what are some of the ideas? And the superintendent of schools in 10th grade, all 10th graders are mandated to do health class for a semester in 10th grade. So we said, how cool would it be for us to come in and present to the 10th graders? And the health teacher who I'd known through, she was also in the coalition. We talked for years about addiction and recovery and what does it mean and how do you look for it and what prevention is and what kids are faced with these days. And our first group went up in the spring that we opened. And we brought like a staff person, the trainer, we brought the personal trainer, and we brought some guests that were fairly not close in age to high school, but not too far out of high school. And they shared their story. And the week leading up to us being there, the health teacher plays Unguarded, talks about Chris's story, shares about his foundation, the Herren Project, about his speaking, and she introduces mindfulness. She introduces what is addiction. So she does her own sort of build up to us coming, and we introduce ourselves. We put our names on the board and our numbers, and they tell their story, and then the kids ask questions. And what has been so impactful is so many of our young adults that are here, their journeys were, they were athletes in high school, or they were academics, or not, or they grew up in, alcoholic families. So they're able to identify with these young adults about, I grew up like that, or this is what happened to me. And the feedback, the health teacher then followed it up with, tell us what you got out of this talk. And then she sent us all the responses. So since then, we go up every semester. And
awesome.
And the people that speak, when they have their phone times, they've had people reach out and say, thank you so much for talking. I have a friend who, what would you suggest? So it opened up this communication. Hingham Public Schools, they're very open to what can we do. We've also gone in and done, I did a presentation with the 8th grade class in the spring it was following a film called If We Had Known, and did an question and answer. So it's that's been a wonderful thing for not only our guests love giving back and sharing that, but also with the students in town.
I recently watched the powerful film, The First Day, with Chris. I highly recommend it for anybody that's listening. And one of his quotes was, if we understand the beginning, we can help to change the ending.
Yes.
Very powerful. So maybe you could give a little advice. What parents, siblings, friends, what should they be looking for on the first day to help?
I think, what one of my sons said when he saw the film, and I asked him what struck him, and he said, when Chris said, high school is hard. High school is really hard. And I think that we need to remember that there's a lot of pressures that I certainly didn't grow up with, that kids are growing up with today. Always being connected, always having kind of your stuff out there with social media, a lot of pressure for just all kinds of things. So I think parents can always be aware of any kind of shift or change in struggle or isolation, things, their emotional well-being. It's not, socially, like Chris talks a lot in the first day about, people were very focused on our kids, athletics and academics, but we don't spend a lot of time focusing on how they're doing socially. And I think that that's a super important aspect of his film. And
I think just open communication too at any age.
And modeling and really modeling and really, what are parents' own relationship to alcohol and drugs or marijuana, and what is what are our kids learning from us with that? And the scariest thing about addiction that Chris says, that is one of my favorite things that he says, is no one knows who has it. And just because of an amazing environment, we really have no idea how or why alcohol and drugs affect somebody differently.
So you're in the business of taking care of everyone else. How are you taking care of yourself? What is your self-care routine?
Great question. So I love, I'm an avid runner. I love running. I had an injury this year that kept me out of that for about 9 months. And that becomes more like, I want to run forever. So, it's sort of like playing the long game, helps me get through the day-to-day of not running. But, my family, I love being in my home. I love being at home. Great friends, beautiful family, extended family, is so important to me. Running, and I love being outdoors, anything outdoors, swimming, water skiing. In the winter, it's snow skiing. So really nature and being outside is really therapeutic for me. But also just, living just contented life in recovery with my, dear friends that are, I call them the vault. So very close friends, and just a healthy recovery life, meetings, and I know how to turn it down, when to, kind of take some time.
I wish you continued success with all of that. And I really, really appreciate you joining us today and sharing all of the insight and being part of the community and all of the impact that you're having. It's much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And thank you to all of our listeners, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Lori. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to Hush Providence, a well-being podcast. This would not be possible without the incredible help from Jamie Farinella and Stephanie Whitehead on branding and logo concept, John Papa's endless generosity, David Davignon and Austin Lynch for their skilled technical expertise, and of course, our amazing guests and all of you, our listeners. Until next time, be well.